Girl Dharma, and welcome back to the channel. It's a space where we explore the gentle journey of returning home to ourselves. And so yeah, that's what I'd like to talk about today. I'm gonna take you through a reflective walk of what my early 20s were like. They weren't crazy. Well, specifically the daily routines that helped me feel grounded and a sense of calm and a tie to the present moment awareness that I strive for even now. That was a time of my life when I felt so grounded and easily yet deeply inspired and so connected to who I was. I've been thinking a lot lately about how the inner child concept can expand beyond childhood, right? It can include any version of ourselves that was still growing and still learning, still figuring things out. For me, that includes my early 20s, a time when I felt closest to my true self. I'm Girl Dharma and welcome back to the Girl Dharma podcast. I adjusted some settings on this microphone, so I'm hoping you're less likely to hear all of those noises that are just like pierce my ear when I'm editing. So oh, I should adjust this so you can see what it looks like outside. Well, it didn't work. It is another cold and snowy day outside. Randomly there are leaves on the ground as well on top of the snow, so there's a lot of those rustling. Actually, let me make sure it's not a stray animal right there. I thought it was just leaves blowing around. It was actually the neighbor's dog pooping in my front yard. But it was wearing a cute little vest. I took a video of it, so maybe I'll put that in. Oh. So first I want to paint a vivid picture of what life was like, just my daily life, my daily routines. I even thought of them almost as like rituals. It was a ritual that was intended to help me feel my best, right? I was always like, wow, I am so close to God. I am so close to my true self. And I thought, in my early 20s, I was like, this is it. This is who I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And as nice as that would be, no, there are just like so many different things that happened, which I've opened up about a bit. And every one of those little factors, whether it's super scary situation or whether it's just like something, I just stopped doing this for a week or something, all of those drastically impact my life routines, impact the way I am thinking of myself and the way I'm thinking of others, and really like even just having the motivation to do all these things that you know are going to feel better for you. Like let me just paint a vivid picture of what a day in the life was for me in my early 20s. During this time I moved to Washington, and this was the first time I moved out of my house, my parents' house. But not only that, I moved across the country to arguably the most beautiful state ever. I had mountain views outside of my window. You can walk down and you'll see the strait, and so I've got water on this side, I've got mountains on this side, and one of the ladies who I'm just so like, I admire her so much, such a beautiful person. Amy, I remember that first week I met her, she was like, oh, I love being here. And she was like, yeah, I always think of that song, it's like, I got na 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 na, and oh, I'm stuck in the middle with you, here I am. And she's like, I think of it as like, water on my left, mountains on my right, yeah, I'm stuck in the middle with you, here I am. And that really, I don't know, even like the art I created after hearing her say that was very much like, we gotta have the mountains on this side and I have to have water on this side. And I don't know, that's the power of someone just saying something just like, just unconsciously, and it like kind of sticks with you, I digress. I want to get into specifically like routines I had during that time. I'm trying to vision, like, I'm trying to set the tone, okay? I would wake up, I'd have an alarm go off, and I was very particular at a certain point about get up as soon as that alarm goes off, right? You can sit in bed for a minute, but you are not going back to sleep. You're sitting up. I would get up and I would maybe put on a robe, or maybe just go out in my pajamas, and I would go start some hot water for hot lemon water. And I would slice some lemon, or I'd squeeze some juice in, depending on which part of the lemon I got. I would put it in this like, almost, it was like actually one of those mugs meant for soup, but it was like someone had left it there in the apartment before my roommate and I moved in, so we were like, score, huge glass for tea. So I would bring this big old mug of lemon water back to my room, and I had this beautiful tiny room, but beautiful, and my bed, the foot of my bed actually faced the window, so it'd be like, this is the head of my bed, be the opposite situation. And there's like, not where it's like kind of off center now, it's like, it was like directly looking outside, and it was like we were on a little bit of a hill, and we had this tree out in front, and so I would sit there and I just listen to the birds making noises outside the window, any other like little things. You see the sun start to rise, and as I waited for my lemon water to cool down, I would jump into morning pages. And so if you've done like the artist way, or if you've started it and never completed it, at least you know that there is a practice called morning pages. And so I would do is I would just like stream of consciousness, write 2 pages front and back, like da 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 da, like, oh, I'm so excited for this, blah blah blah, this feels good. And then I would, if I haven't already, finish drinking my lemon water, and I would kind of get a little bit of stretch in. I would get ready for the day, get changed, whatever that entailed, and then I would start some toast. I had a toaster, which is like, wow, such a luxury, because I don't anymore. I just pop it into the oven. But it was so much easier. Put in some toast, pull out an avocado, and I would make avocado toast every morning. And it was so, again, it was like a little ritual. I drink my lemon water, I do my morning pages, and after a while even, it stopped being 100% morning pages, 100% journaling. It would be like I had already written down essentially these mantras, and I would read through them every day. Be like, I am a good person, and people who know me know that, right? I am so excited to have such a beautiful day. I'm so thankful for another morning where I get to gently join the day. Things like that, and I would repeat them, and sometimes I'd be like, and I wish that this person have a really great day, and it became to the point, actually, it wasn't like overwhelming, but it came to the point eventually where it was like I added so many names to this list, and I was like, well, I can't wish one sister to have a good day, not the other, so I gotta do that, you know? And it was like, it wasn't overwhelming though. It was just kind of just like, oh, well, yeah, why wouldn't I want that one to also have a good day? I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself, like not painting the like cleanest, most colorful version of it, but that's what I would do. I had this nice little routine of waking up when my alarm went off, and drinking lemon water and journaling and saying these mantras. And then even after that, I would get changed for the day, and then I would go out into the kitchen and I would start some toast for some avocado toast. And it was like an every morning routine. Well, especially on days I worked. I still got up every morning. Obviously on days I wasn't working, and I still did my journaling. I still did my lemon water, but it wasn't the same. Like, it just felt like days where I was off, I actually felt much more like I had to get things done quicker, because now I have this fun thing planned, or like, oh, it's a Saturday, I have to try to wake up at this time so I can make it to 10 a.m. yoga. For so much of my week and so many of my days, it was so gentle. It was so looking out the window, listening to the birds, and I didn't watch things while I ate. I was eating breakfast, and it was very like just watching things around me, watching my surroundings. It was very listening to things going on around me. Or sometimes, you know, we'd play some morning music, like play a little Nora Jones, you know, play a little like Jason Mraz even. It was just like everything I did in the morning was to curate this very beautiful and calm, like peaceful environment that I wanted to continue to live in. And I loved it. I loved it so much. There was something about that stillness that just helped me feel so like centered within myself. I kept a calendar hung above my on my wall, so across the wall from my bed, and I'd lay down to go to sleep. And if I didn't have a large X on Sharpie over the day, I know I haven't meditated. And that to this day is the best method for me to like visually see every day before I go to bed. Did I meditate? And if I didn't, there's nothing less than a 10-minute, 15-minute meditation. Like, I'm doing it before I go to bed, you know? But most days most evenings then were cooking a very vegetable dense dinner, right? Always making something at home. We didn't have DoorDash, and we didn't go out to eat very often. And if we did, it was like this beautiful Thai restaurant. And so yeah, I would cook this like very very vegetable dense dinner, and I would use a lot of my downtime to just practice headstands. Like, it didn't matter where. Like, that was such a hobby of mine. I practiced headstands every single day, and it was without fail like the easiest way to get better at them, because I had been practicing headstands since I was 12 or 13, and they were always up in there. Sometimes I'd do really great, and then I finally started learning methods that helped me find better balance. But nothing helped as much as just daily practice. And it'd be a couple times a day, and it would just be like such a random thing to do. And I'd be like, oh, I'm waiting for this water boil, I'm just gonna do a headstand, you know? I went to yoga class twice a week religiously, and then Saturdays, if I could make it downtown in time, I rode my bike everywhere. If I didn't have a class, I was still doing yoga in my living room, and I was like not watching videos on like recommended flows, or vinyasas or anything like that. I'm just doing what feels good. I'm just just flowing with it on my own, you know. And I like looking back, these are all things that just like some evenings I would go out with friends, especially on the weekends. We'd go out and we'd go hiking. Like, how do you live in one of the most beautiful places in, dare I say, the country and not soak it in every chance you get? We would go out to the ocean, we would go out to the mountains, we'd go on like small trail hikes multiple times a week, and there's something about just connecting with the outside world. I didn't see the ocean until I was an adult. I've never seen like a real mountain until I was an adult. I don't even think I ever ate spaghetti squash until I was an adult. So this was such a transitional time for me, and it felt like I was like not only discovering a lot of this like outer world, but like even myself, like this inner world, you know. And so I think I understand why, looking back, that was like probably the closest I felt to my true self. Yeah, those routines were kind of like a rhythm that felt like a home within myself, you know. Yeah, and so that's what I've been focusing on, trying to find my way back to her, right? Things have changed. Life has changed a lot. Like, now I have a partner who I love very much, and now I'm in a totally different state across the country, and now I have 2 beautiful cats. There is one, and the other one is just waking up. Never mind, he just laid back down. These routines weren't just like habits, they were a great tool for connection. They reminded me to slow down and to tune into my inner world and to embrace all emotions as they came and as they arise. And I found myself really noticing that that version of me only existed in that space, right? If I came back home for a holiday or something, I think just the stress of being out of routine and the stress of now being surrounded by people who don't agree with me and people who aren't just kind just because they are, really, it was like, now I'm around someone who's gossiping about this, and now I'm around someone who's arguing about that. I'm like, oh, well, you're just so sensitive, and that's kind of your fault. And I would fall into these like deep like spirals, downward spirals, and those were hard. Those were really hard. And I one time overheard my mom talking on the phone with my grandma when I was back in town, and she was like, she is just like not doing well, and it's gotta be hard to not have your own space anymore, and it's gotta be hard to not have your own routines, right? Go from spending so much time outside and with your friends to being in a van with your parents because now you're traveling back. So that version of me, I'm not surprised I lost that sense of connection with her, because even then it felt very bound to a space as to where, when I get glimpses of it, it's bound to a home, as in like my body as the home, you know. In a way, this early version of myself, this early 20s version of myself, was just figuring out life. Just like my inner child, right? Like everything was new and exciting. I looked at everything with a sense of wonder. I was just trying to figure stuff out. And I was learning and I was growing. And I think that's why I feel such a connection between even the me that existed yesterday to my inner child. Your inner child doesn't have to be the adolescent or under 18 version of your past self. It's any past version of yourself that was still learning and still growing. And those routines were just her way of finding stability amidst everything new and exciting and everything out of my control. So this is a little bit of a different episode, because when I look back at that version of myself, I think, oh, that was who I was meant to be. Like, that was so the truest version I've been. Like, it was so the closest I've ever been to what felt like my true self. And I don't know that a lot of people have felt this before, but I know there's no way that I'm the first. No, there's no way that no one else has felt this before, because everything we've ever felt has been felt by someone before, you know? Well, okay. I'm trying to take things bit by bit. When I look back to that version of myself, I try to take things bit by bit and try to reincorporate them into my life now. So starting with morning routine, maybe this next month, that's something I can focus on to reintroduce myself to that version of who I was, and try to close the gap between who I was and where I want to be, you know? So I've been starting my mornings with actually some warm lemon water. And it looks a little different than it did then, because now I have to wake up a lot quieter. And then the chamomile and oolong, my cats, they want to get out early and they want to start eating some food. So I let them out while I'm prepping my lemon water, and then I put them back to bed, and then I'll go through my morning routine. I'll journal at the desk or on my bed, depending on the vibe. And I haven't came up with mantras yet, but I think that's something I'd like to work on too. Those have been really, really nice, subtle ways of bringing back that version of myself who wasn't watching TV while they ate breakfast, you know, who wasn't scrolling on social media all the time. Like, Instagram was cool, but it wasn't like the only thing there was to do. There was reading and there was meditation. Speaking of reading, oh, I just lost my page. I'm a little further in this book. I'm so glad I gave it a chance, because I feel like I almost have to pace myself on the book now, versus there are days where I'm like, oh my god, like, I don't want to read. Reading's not fun anymore. I lied, reading is fun. There's this part that I wanted to read that reminded me kind of this topic. To bring about sudden change isn't something you can plan, control, or schedule. The soul has its own way of timing the experiences we call epiphanies. But you can cultivate the state of awareness that opens the way for insight and revelation. This state is known as simple awareness, and reaching it is effortless. Of course, there's that desire to find your way back to this version of you that felt so whole and so pure. It's because, like, your soul is craving it, essentially. That's what you're meant to do. That's why you have this drive to do something, is because that's what you're meant to do. That's what my interpretation of it is. And I underline like crazy in this book. I haven't been perfect about how I've revisited these routines and rituals, but I feel like I have done a really good job in like capturing the essence of it, right? Like, of course it looks different because my life is different. I feel the same type of energy and love and peace when I have incorporated slower mornings and yoga evenings. And I do have to find a yoga class near me because I feel like that would tie it together so much better. But I'm feeling really good about it. I encourage you to look back to a time when you felt the most like you. What were small routines that brought you joy or peace or clarity even? And how can you start incorporating that into your life now? It doesn't have to be big or perfect, but even those small steps can help you reconnect to that version of you that feels like home. Thank you for joining me in this reflective space for a different kind of conversation, but still very Girl Dharma, still very connecting to past versions of ourselves and learning and growing and just existing together. As we move forward, let's continue to honor all of the past versions of ourselves that have led us to where we are and where we want to go. Yeah, I think that's all for today. I think I want to revisit this idea, maybe even monthly, on incorporating more bits and pieces of this version of me that felt so close to God, and close to my truest form of like who I should have been and who I am, and remembering that that version of me still exists within. Just trying to figure out how to find my way back to her, you know. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. I know today was very different, but I'm grateful nonetheless. Thank you.